Alright, GM. So today we're going to be looking at how to install Visual Studio Code and how to use it or how to set it up to prepare and write indicators for example, TradingView. And in the live chats, there are not many people right now, but we will do our best to cover everything. So at the time of the recording, market is not looking good, but that should not keep us grinding and preparing for the next run. We should always keep that in mind. So I've prepared a presentation again. It's pretty short, but it covers everything. So as I said, today we are going to be looking at the program Visual Studio Code. And the question always is, what do you need for that? Do I need a big PC, high-spec hardware? And the answer is actually no, you don't need that. Any computer should do the job pretty fine. The better the hardware, the better the performance, but I would say coding PineScript indicators is not that performance heavy. When it comes to maybe programming other stuff, it's going to be more heavy lifting for the PC, but everything is actually well optimized, I would say. So there's nothing to worry about. And the next thing would be is what software do you need? So pretty simple, only Visual Studio Code. That's all you need. Sometimes you need some frameworks, but then your PC will tell you what you need, something like .NET or other stuff, but it will tell you what you will need. And that would be it for now. So it does not need much to start the coding, but it can get bigger depending on your needs. And these needs we are going to be covering as well in future streams and videos. So installation is pretty simple too. You only go to code.visualstudio.com and download the program from there. If you need a tutorial for that, it's always out there in the internet. So go to maybe YouTube or something like that. There it should be too. And it's also most of the time coming with a walkthrough. We're going to be doing a quick one, but if you need an in-depth look of the program itself, I would say do your own research and look it up if you need it. But I'm going to be covering the most things. So in there, you can create a folder, also known as a workspace. And in that workspace, of course, you can create more folders to separate. And we're going to look at the future Lambo launch repository, at least briefly. And in there, you can also create files like texts or code itself. And it's not only to create code, that's pretty practical. You can also create any type of text file or markdown file. And markdown files are pretty popular in the coding space because you can easily format those with just some symbols and make it look better, more pleasing. And these can be formatted on other platforms to use those symbols to maybe give a header a bigger font or bullet points and stuff like that. So optional steps would be also to choose a theme. There are pre-installed themes like light or dark theme. There's a marketplace where people created other themes. If you want to look at that, You can do that. Don't go into the rabbit hole too deep, I would say. And also exploring the hotkeys, change them if you need something. I would say, best or the most important thing you need is Control S, which would be saving the file. That's it. And yeah, so you can also explore the extension marketplace, which is also the theme marketplace. So both is mixed. And we're going to be looking at some of the extensions that I have downloaded and some that could be helpful for you. So it's pretty, highly customizable, I would say, highly supported as well. It started as a open source project and got bought by Microsoft. And now it's running basically on its own under Microsoft's, I would say, hands. So it got a pretty big community behind that too. So it also got integrated AI agents through extensions. And this is one of the important things that we are going to be looking at in the next call or in the next stream and videos. It's pretty important to use them like that. I will be going over the differences between a separated terminal or a separated interface like ChatGPT Claude on the browser and using those AI agents or same AI agents in your editor inclusively. Some of the extensions we're going to be look over is the PineScript helper. It's good for those that are going to be programming some indicators, some libraries, and thread development. It is basically knowing the syntax of PineScript, so basically how PineScript works and replicates the look inside the editor in VS Code. And also some of the AI agents that are pre-built into VS Code, but also some that you can look into the extension marketplace, and also some code formatter and how you can use them pretty practically every time. GM flick. So that would be it basically. So we're going to look over how to navigate in VS Code and how to maybe start your first project as well. All right. So we're going to look into Visual Studio. All right. So now we're in VS Code itself. And in here, I already got the Lambo Launch folder on my desktop loaded in. And this is going to be the repository from GitHub that we're going to be using and collaborating in the future as well. And to just open a folder, you have to go to File. In there, you can choose a file from the Explorer on your browser. And for example, I got the Lambo Launch right here. And if I select it, it would regenerate the workspace basically. And you can select it here and then loads it in. So inside you can see there's already a structure going on with folders and some files. And that's going to be your Explorer basically, with every file that is in the repository or in the folder. And in here I have already selected one of the files. And this is one of the indicators I created. It's a mix of other simple indicators to have as a dashboard. We can look at it right here. For example, EMAs, some liquidity levels, some design aspects, and more. If we're looking at the Visual Studio Code interface itself, we get some other things right here. For example, the search bar. You can also press Control F inside the file to look for something like the MA tag, to look where, for example, you got MA in your file, or also inside the whole repository. For example, you can see there are menu results inside multiple files. You can go look over them. Pretty practical for development itself. And you can also replace it. It's one of the practical use cases for this. Source control will be another topic for the future. Basically, you can go back to a version or also push into the public repository that we have when you created some new code. And this is going to be the central, basically the hub where you can send that code to the public repository itself. In the extensions tab, we can see that I already got some extensions loaded. You don't really need many of the same ones that I got. Some are like design-wise, for example, an office theme, an icon theme, or some AI agents and other tools. The ones I would recommend, for example, for people that are doing the development for PineScript, any indicators, threads, or libraries, PineScript helper is pretty good because it does the syntax highlighting and gives you basically the same feeling like in the TradingView editor, but obviously in a better package. And the other thing I would recommend is, for example, a code formatter, something like Prettier. It's pretty well known. You can see 65 million downloads, so it's pretty well known. It's not always the case. For example, the PineScript helper only has less than 10K, but that is okay because it still does the job. As you can see, it does the highlighting for us. All right, so we're nearing the end, and the only thing I would be looking over with you all right now is the settings tab. And you can already see there are a lot of things that you can customize. For example, also the default formatter. I've got Prettier, for example, the font size if you need a bigger one, the font family, and much more. And I've already said there's one setting I would recommend to everyone that would be save on, or no, format on save. It is basically formatting your code when you save it, and this makes it not only neat, it's also necessary for future apps, because sometimes if you do not format your code, you can run into some issues. This is most of the time not the case with like simple things, but actually because PineScript is based on Python, and Python is pretty sensitive about its indentations. For example, if I got an indentation right here, the program will not work or the script will not work. So it's pretty sensitive in that case. So having a formatter, for example, is pretty good, and it's doing the job for you basically to keep your code neat. All right, so the last thing we're going to be looking over is GitHub's, or I would say Visual Studio Code's inbuilt AI agent, for example, GitHub Copilot. It is free to use, but got paid plans, so you're not able to use it freely forever and endlessly. They got limits too. But I could probably ask it one thing, and that would be, what is this project about? And it will be looking over maybe the file that I'm working in currently and the code base I am working it in general. It will do stuff like open the README file that I got right here. and is checking the paths and the structure itself. And based on that, it is going to be giving me an answer. And that is the most powerful thing, basically, that this editor is giving me, because if you use stuff like ChatGPT or Claude inside the browser, you will experience lack of context, lack of knowledge from the AI agent. But having an AI agent inside your code editor with all the files, all the libraries you're going to be using, which is why we created this repository, is a huge game changer, because you can not only create code faster, but also more accurately. And this is why I'm saying more action should be the case. You should always try out coding, never be afraid of coding yourself, because we got so many tools right now with AI that allow us to utilize them and not be like blindly going into the things. And the best thing is that we can experiment as well without losing anything, because there's nothing to lose. There's no money on the line. You're not invested already. You can backtest it and look at it, at the product you created, and then put money on it, basically. Of course, not solely. It's just confluence. As I'm always saying, indicators are always just confluence to your already existing trading strategies, but it's another addition that you can use and test, of course, and speed up your backtesting and forward testing as well. So we're looking at the answer. It is basically a collection of trading tools and TradingView PineScript resources, indicators, libraries, and strategies. That's right. Top level, see the README file for the project overview and folder layout. Also contacts organized into docs, helper tools, PineScript, etc. Example indicators are, for example, the quant lens indicator that I created. That's right. And it provides configurable moving averages, color themes, liquidity, support resistance lines, and so much more. So, as you can see, the AI basically grasped the context of my script and gave me the full summarization of it. And it's going to be a great adventure, I would say. So we're going to be creating a lot of indicators with that help. And we're not only going to be using this inbuilt GitHub Copilot chat. I've got something like Augment Code, which is much stronger, but also very expensive. We're going to be looking at free, free packages that we could use, maybe some smaller or lower cost packages, and also for those that are going to be coding much more, for example, someone like me or the others that will be creating bigger projects, they can be using either a usage-based pricing model, or a bigger subscription from something like Claude or other vendors. And the market is pretty much open. We're going to looking at how to not fall into the rabbit hole of the whole AI market, and having our eyes straight, not falling into any traps. It's better to create than look at the products that are already there. You should not be blinded by that. So with that, actually, this would cover it. If there are any follow-up questions, for example, in the live chat right now or after the recording, you can tell me them or ask them, and we can be looking over the things in the next stream. So there's always going to be a weekly stream at the beginning, which is basically a lesson or a workshop. And the second one is more of a Q&A, a follow-up to the first stream. I always want people to get or don't get behind, so we can have everyone inside this project. I want as many people in this project as possible, because if we have many people creating amazing indicators, we can share them together and utilize them for our trading. So yes, the next stream is basically going to be how to navigate in GitHub and how to, for example, create a repository or pull a repository, an existing one, and how to pull or push code onto the repository. So you always have version control similar to the one that is in TradingView, but more professional, I would say. It's not just a single file, it's a whole workspace, basically. And the last stream in this series is going to be how to use or actually use AI, which AI is available for us. And although the market is evolving, we can pretty much already say that, which options are there for us to use. So, and this would conclude step 1 of the setup and the basics. And after that, all the content we're going to be doing for the Algo section is going to be in the paid section, not to exclude anyone, but to have an elite that is committed enough for this community to create in the community. All right, so nearing the end, if there are no questions. So no questions, but positive feedback I can see. Yes, so I'm also pretty interested in this project as well. So leading this and creating stuff with everyone, not only for me, but for everyone to use and also see what everyone is creating. This is going to be pretty huge for everyone's journey. As I said in the last stream, basically making us independent from the TradingView indicators market and giving us the ability to create or build on our theories better and faster. So actually Salman is just giving us a question. He recently started learning Swift as a hobby and also a bit of PineScript and Python knowledge on an intermediate level. How useful would you say will this be for our purpose? Really useful. I would say knowing a bit of coding, if it's PineScript or any other programming language, because every programming language is so similar. At the end, you can, if you know how to code, basically, you can learn any programming language. And this is the same for PineScript, Python, or something like Java, C++, and stuff like that. So with that knowledge, you're already ahead, I would say, but that's no problem, as we will also be going to be looking over some options to learn how to trade and, or not to trade, but learn how to program, and to where you can look at some input, but also how to utilize AI to gain an idea on how to code, and maybe let the AI code for you and be an orchestrator basically, and leading the AI to implement your ideas. So if there are no other questions, I would say we get the first step done, and we can definitely continue in the next stream and video to get our setup up and running. For everyone out there, as a homework, if you're seeing this during the stream or after the stream, if you want, you can download Visual Studio Code and just explore the program. You can't really destroy anything from it. You can always reset it at its core, basically, and just trying to maybe write your code inside of the code editor instead of the TradingView editor. It's, I would say, a bit of a better experience. You just have to copy and paste the code into TradingView. So that's the only hassle. Yes, so Flick is also saying in the chat, enable background color, which is one of the variables here, is really similar to Pine. Fun fact, this is actual Pine script. So this is Pine script. This is one of my scripts. And this is also going to be shared in the basically going further after or inside of step 2. So everyone will be seeing my creations as well. I will be leaking them basically. So there's no magic behind them actually. But yeah, so this is basically Pine code inside of Visual Studio Code. All right, perfect. So as I said, follow-up questions are always nice to have. We can cover them next stream. And I would say we can close this stream. All right. GM.